Products that got discontinued for solving the problem. Let's see these products.
Pre-cartel light bulbs. There's something you don't know about light bulbs. They have a darker story than you'd imagine. By the early 1900s, some bulbs were lasting 2,500 hours or more, and the technology kept improving.
Wait, pre-cartel light bulbs? I just read that again out loud. Does that name imply that the cartel had something to do with making light bulbs worse than they are since, dude, 2,500 hours?
There was one bulb installed in a fire station in 1901, which is still burning today, over 120 years later.
Damn.
So what happened? Why did bulbs stop getting better and actually start getting worse? In 1924, a group of the world's biggest light bulb companies got together and formed an agreement. This agreement became known as the Phoebus Cartel, named after the meeting point they used in Geneva. What they agreed on was insane. They decided that light bulbs should not last more than 1,000 hours. If any company made a bulb that lasted longer, they would be fined. The idea presented
Fined is crazy, bro.
to the public was that a shorter burning bulb actually produced better light, and there was a small truth in that. Brighter filaments do tend to burn out faster. However, the 1,000-hour limit was not chosen because of light quality. Long-lasting light bulbs don't need replacements, which of course leads to fewer sales. The cartel lasted until around 1939, when World War II disrupted global trade and the agreement fell apart, but the 1,000-hour norm had already settled into the industry as a kind of standard. Even after the cartel ended, that number stuck around for decades. America's electric
Bro, what? People are just so greedy.
streetcars. Many Americans today complain about the lack of public transport. However, there was once a time where they had one of the best rail systems in the world. In the early 1900s, American cities were full of electric streetcars. They were used by millions of people every single day. And for example, Los Angeles alone had over 1,000 miles of track at its peak, making it one of the largest urban rail systems that had ever existed anywhere. Then, starting in the 1930s and through the 1940s and 50s, these networks began disappearing. One city after another tore up its tracks and replaced its streetcar lines with buses. By the 1960s, in just 2 decades, what had been a continent-wide network of electric transit was almost entirely dismantled. There is a very specific reason this happened, and it has a name. National City Lines was a company that, starting in the late 1930s, began buying up streetcar systems across the country. The company had investors like General Motors, Firestone Tire, Standard Oil of California, and Mack Trucks. These were companies that made money selling cars, fuel, tires, and buses. After acquiring a city's streetcar system, National City Lines would typically convert the routes to buses, often General Motors buses, running on roads that needed fuel and tires.
Damn, so they have like a whole monopoly just to make their industry bloom more.
In 1949, several executives and the companies involved were actually convicted in federal court of conspiracy to monopolize the sale of buses and related products. The fine was $5,000 each. Whether this was one of the primary causes of the streetcar's decline, or just one factor among many, is something historians still debate. Target's pregnancy predictor. Sometime around—
Oh, I've heard about this. I'm pretty sure back then, I don't know if Target still has it now, probably not publicly, but Target had like a system in place where they would notice like your purchasing trends and then have like kind of like a estimated guess if you were pregnant and start giving you like coupons for like pregnancy related items like diapers, formula, or whatnot. But I think this one dad got like mad about it.
2010, a man walked into a Target store in Minnesota and asked to speak with a manager. He was angry because Target had been sending coupons to his teenage daughter, and the coupons were for baby products. He wanted to know why a major retailer was sending that kind of material to a high school student. The manager apologized and said it must have been a mistake. Then, a few days later, the manager called the father back to follow up. It turned out his daughter was pregnant, and she had not yet told her family. Target had figured it out before he did. This was not a coincidence.
Which is kind of crazy to think about. Like all these like algorithms can predict things and know things before people can. Which I don't know. I think it's like a benefit, but can also be kind of scary. Like imagine an algorithm knowing that your daughter's pregnant before even you.
Target had deliberately built a system to predict which of its customers were pregnant, and it had been working quietly for years before that story became public. The system worked by analyzing the specific products pregnant women bought, as well as the timing of their purchases. Things like unscented lotion, certain vitamins, cotton balls, and hand sanitizer showed up in patterns entirely different from the general population. When a customer's buying behavior started matching those patterns, the algorithm assigned them what the team called a pregnancy prediction score. The system was so accurate that it was able to estimate a due date within a fairly narrow range. When the story became public through a New York Times article in 2012, the reaction was immediate. People were unsettled, not because Target had done something illegal, but because it had done something that felt like a serious invasion of privacy without anyone realizing it was happening.
Yeah, but Yeah, I guess that's kind of hard. They're giving coupons for things you're already gonna buy and off like your pattern history. It's not like they're marking up the price of things relating to being pregnant. I can get the sense of like invasion of privacy though, but I don't know. It's definitely like a hard topic to like, get on.
Target did not shut the algorithm down, but it changed how it used the results. Instead of sending coupons that were obviously targeted at pregnancy, they started mixing baby product offers in with completely unrelated ones, so the targeting was less visible. The goal was to make the predictions feel like coincidence rather than surveillance. Amazon Dash buttons. In 2015, Amazon introduced what was arguably one of their best products, a small plastic device about the size of a thumb that you could stick anywhere in your home, with a single button and a logo for a specific product. The idea was straightforward. When you were running low on something, you pressed the button, and with just one click, Amazon automatically ordered more and shipped it to your door. They were sold for about $5 each, and that cost was refunded as a credit on your first order through the device, so it was basically free. It was a success, and Amazon kept adding brands and expanding the program. Companies paid Amazon to have their own Dash buttons because they essentially guaranteed repeat customers.
Wait, that's actually pretty nifty.
However, there was one issue. When you're shopping through the app or website, Amazon can upsell you related products. This wasn't the case with the Dash button. Also, Amazon's own app added a feature that let you reorder past purchases in just a few taps, and Alexa made it possible to reorder by just speaking out loud. Subscription services also let you set automatic deliveries on a schedule without pressing anything at all. The last straw was when an early 2019 ruling in Germany declared the product illegal because it did not show the price of the product at the moment of purchase, since prices on Amazon can fluctuate. By 2019, Amazon discontinued the physical buttons. Aereo. Around 2012, a technology startup called Aereo launched in New York City with a service that seemed too good to be true. Aereo had constructed facilities filled with thousands of tiny individual antennas, each one about the size of a dime. When a subscriber signed up for the service, they were assigned one of these antennas. That antenna would pick up over-the-air broadcast television signals and stream them over the internet to the subscriber's device in real time. For around just $8 a month, you could watch live broadcast television on your phone, tablet, or computer without needing to have a much more expensive cable subscription. Since any individual could have put up an antenna and watched them, Aero argued that it was basically just doing that on behalf of its subscribers, and that over-the-air broadcasts are free and public by law. Also, because each transmission was individual rather than a broadcast to many people at once, Aereo argued it was not retransmitting copyrighted content in a way that required licenses or payments to the networks. The major broadcast networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, saw it differently. They sued almost immediately, arguing that Aereo was taking their content and building a profitable business on it without—
Yeah, I don't know if I could really side with Aereo on that. I mean, I think they tried finding like a little loophole, but it seems too much of just like a straight piracy.
paying them anything. The case moved through the courts, while Aereo was so successful that it continued expanding to other cities. It was winning in lower courts, suggesting that its legal theory might have actually held up. Then, finally, in 2014, the case reached the Supreme Court of the United States. The court ruled against Aereo in a 6-3 decision, finding that the service was effectively acting like a cable company and was therefore required to pay the same retransmission fees that cable companies paid to carry broadcast content. Aereo filed for bankruptcy within months of the ruling, and the service shut down. The Concorde. In the 1950s and 1960s, planes were getting faster with each generation, and the assumption was that this trend would continue. Britain and France decided not to wait, and in 1962, the two governments signed an agreement to jointly develop a supersonic passenger aircraft, splitting the enormous cost and combining their engineering resources. Now, keep in mind that a conventional jet going from London or Paris to New York took around 7 or 8 hours. The new plane, the Concorde—
Is it gonna say it's gonna go like 3 to 4 hours, like half the time?
—could carry around 100 passengers from London or Paris to New York in roughly 3.5 hours. The Concorde was doing the same trip in half the time. You could leave London after breakfast and arrive in New York before breakfast on the same morning due to the time zone difference, effectively gaining back hours of the day. Business travelers and celebrities made up most of the passenger list, but there was a problem that derived from the same goal that they created it for: speed. Since it literally traveled faster than sound itself, it produced a sonic boom, which was so disruptive on the ground below that supersonic flight over land was banned in most countries, including the United States. This restricted the Concorde almost entirely to transatlantic routes, which dramatically limited the number of city pairs it could serve and the total market it could reach. As a further setback, in 2000, a Concorde operated by Air France crashed shortly after takeoff from Paris, killing everyone on board and a number of people on the ground. Lastly, in 2003, both British Airways—
Okay, I think so far, out of like all the products that have been discontinued for solving the problem, everyone else got discontinued Discontinued basically for kind of monopolizing and just like profiting a lot on it. This seems like a really cool like concept. I mean, they went through with it, but I think this is the first one where an actual like problem came out of it, where I mean it was disrupting people on the ground and also killing people. But besides that, it seems like such like a sick idea. It's like a bullet train almost, like in the air.
And Air France announced they would retire the aircraft entirely. Four Loko.
Four Loko? Products that got discontinued for solving the problem. What did Four Loko solve?
The late 2000s, 3 college guys noticed how popular and expensive it was to mix Red Bull and vodka at bars. This happened because people were trying to consume large amounts of alcohol.
Wait, Four Loko has Red Bull in it? Does Four Loko have Red Bull in it? The malt beverage is no longer marked as an energy drink. Wait, what? I never knew that.
Without experiencing the natural tiredness effects of the liquor. They started a company called Fusion Projects and created a new drink called Four Loko. It cost about $2 and it contained caffeine, alcohol, and a few other stimulants mixed together. It spread wildly among college students and it started showing up in gas stations and corner stores across the entire US. The price made it accessible to almost anyone. The size of the can meant one drink had a significant effect, and the sweet flavors made it easy to drink quickly without noticing how much alcohol was actually in it. It solved the problem perfectly. However, after a while, campus after campus started seeing students end up in emergency rooms after consuming 1 or 2 cans. The combination of caffeine and alcohol was at the center of the concern. Since the stimulants masked the feeling of being drunk, it made it harder for the person drinking to realize how drunk they actually were.
Okay, I think that's just kind of like a skill difference though. If I'm gonna be honest, they probably felt the effects, but they probably just pushed past it because people just want to like blackout. But
in 2010, a group of college students in Washington state were hospitalized after drinking Four Loko at a party. The FDA had already been reviewing caffeinated alcoholic drinks for a couple of years by that point. And after reviewing the evidence, they sent letters to the manufacturers stating that this combination was not safe and could not be sold in that form. The companies behind Four Loko and similar products had a very short window to comply, and Four Loko's manufacturer removed the energizing components almost immediately. The product stayed on shelves. It just became a straightforward alcoholic beverage without the stimulants. Microsoft's Tay AI. In March 2016, Microsoft launched an AI chatbot on Twitter called Tay. It was designed to learn from the conversations it had with real users in real time, learning slang and the way people speak. The more people talked to it, the more natural and engaging it was supposed to become. Microsoft positioned it as an experiment. The whole thing didn't go as planned. Tay was live for less than 24 hours before Microsoft took it offline. That's because within hours of launching, groups of users had figured out that the learning mechanism had almost no guardrails on what
I was about to say, are they gonna like talk like explicitly to it?
But it could learn and repeat. People began feeding
or maybe like the N-word?
Racist statements, conspiracy theories, and inflammatory content.
Being a conspiracy theory
scale. Tay did not recognize any of this as harmful and processed it the way it processed everything else. It started producing deeply offensive outputs directed at other users on the platform. The speed at which it happened was striking. This was not a slow drift over days or weeks. The system degraded within hours to the point where it was producing content that Microsoft could not leave publicly visible. The company shut it down and issued an apology.
That's crazy. This is Grok before Grok, basically.
Tay worked so well that the research backfired. A week later, Microsoft accidentally reactivated Tay during internal testing, and the bot immediately started spewing weird tweets once more, such as, "Kush, I'm smoking Kush in front of the police." Then it was taken offline for good. The 1992 Hoover free flights. In 1992, the British division of the vacuum cleaner company Hoover ran a promotional offer that has since become one of the most studied marketing disasters in business history. The deal was simple. Buy a Hoover appliance worth at least £100 and you would receive 2 free return flights to Europe or the United States.
Wow.
At first glance, this looked like a standard promotional deal, but anyone who looked at the numbers carefully could see the problem
would literally just buy an infinite amount of vacuums and just profit infinitely.
Immediately. Flights to the United States from the UK were worth significantly more than the vacuum cleaner.
Who was behind this whole marketing scheme? Like, did they not crunch any numbers?
Required to claim them. People were not buying the vacuum because they needed it. They were buying it to get the flights for cheaper. Word spread fast, and consumers figured it out almost immediately. Some people bought multiple units, and some charities and resellers started buying vacuums in bulk just to accumulate flight vouchers. The volume of applicants overwhelmed everything. Hoover had contracted with a small travel company to handle the flight redemptions, and that company was nowhere near equipped to manage what was coming. Customers who applied for their flights found—
and also for the flight company as well, how did they even think that they would profit from this either? Like, why did both of these people agree? It took both companies to to agree like, all right, this seems like a fair deal. Just sell one vacuum. We'll give you 2 free tickets. Like, bro, what?
And that company was nowhere near equipped to manage what was coming. Customers who applied for their flights found the process deliberately difficult. There were strict conditions, limited departure dates, inconvenient airports, and repeated obstacles that seemed designed to make people give up before actually getting their tickets. Many people, however, did not give up. They organized and eventually they sued. The legal cases dragged on for years, and the total losses from the promotion
Did they file for bankruptcy?
have been estimated at over 50 million pounds.
Wow.
Flappy Bird.
Flappy Bird. I remember hearing about Flappy Bird getting discontinued. I mean, this was a long while ago, but I actually never knew the reason why. I heard the creator of Flappy Bird, I forgot if it was 25,000 or 50,000, but he made like between that amount per day. I think it was just from advertisements too.
You've likely seen or played Flappy Bird before, so it doesn't need an introduction. But the interesting part is why it got taken down. At its peak, the game was generating around $50,000 a day in advertising revenue.
Crazy, just for like a game where you just tap on the screen.
For Nguyen, the creator.
Well, I mean, I guess that's every single mobile game, but literally just boom, 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 boom.
Who had made it largely by himself in his spare time. Then in February 2014, Nguyen announced on Twitter that he was removing the game from the App Store. He said it had become too addictive and that he could not take the responsibility for what it was doing to people's time and attention.
No way, dude.
He pulled it within 24 hours of the announcement. People who already had it installed could keep playing, but no new downloads were
I remember people would like sell their phones or tablets like, Legacy Flappy Bird not deleted yet, buy for $2,000. No way it was that addicting though. There's definitely been people who've tried making like rip-off or copies of it, so I don't know why he would do that. I thought he took it down for the reason that he was making so much money that he was getting threatened, like, if you don't give me some of that money, like, I'll do something.
Possible. So phones with Flappy Bird installed were briefly being sold on auction sites for thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
The game was so good that the creator felt bad about people becoming addicted to it. And Nguyen gave interviews in the following months describing the period around the game's peak popularity as deeply uncomfortable, with large amounts of media attention, messages from strangers, and a general loss of control. If you want to discuss this,
that is a crazy way to end it. Video from this creator, link in the description. Like, comment, subscribe if y'all are new here. Appreciate y'all for watching to the end, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Eating on some hot fries, goddamn my boy is hot outside. Please don't try to diss me.